Welcome back, friends. My name is Karun Nagpal, and in this video we would be covering 4 marks of IBBI registered valuer examination syllabus, and we would be talking about the model code of conduct under the registered valuer and valuation rules, and then we would be talking about the business ethics and standard. So let us quickly talk about the contents of today's video. Under the model code of conduct, we would be talking about the professional competence, independence and disclosure of interest, confidentiality, information memorandum, gifts and hospitality, integrity. We would be talking about remuneration and costs, occupation, employability and restriction. Then we would be talking about the business ethics, ethical consideration under the terms of engagement. We would be talking about engagement letter, management representation, use of expert work, independence and conflict of interest, quality review process, and then we would be talking about the right and responsibility of valuers as well as clients. So let us start with the first, that is integrity and fairness. A valuer shall maintain the integrity. So that is very basic. He should be honest, straightforward, and in all his professional dealings, and shall not misrepresent any facts or situation. He should present the true and fair information to its client. Valuer shall refrain himself from getting involved into any profession which disrepute the valuation profession, and shall keep all his dealing, shall keep the public interest foremost while delivering his services. Then we have professional competence and due care. So valuer should render high standard of service, exercise due diligence and proper care, and he should keep himself updated with all the updates and do CPRs, and so that he is aware of all what he is going outside. And he should follow all the relevant accounting and technical professional standards that are being specified from time to time. Should not disclaim any liability, any of his liability, so he can obtain the management representation, but he should also apply his own judgment and his skills. Should not carry out any instruction directly by the clients, so as far as they are incompatible with the requirement of his independence, objectivity and integrity. Shall clearly state to his client that in case he is using the services of an expert or relying on the other valuers, so he should state that the fact to his client. For example, if you are doing a valuation of a company, and company has plant and machinery and land and building as well, so since these rules have divided the categories of valuation, classes of valuation into three, that is land and building, plant and machinery, and securities and financial assets. So if you have not done valuation for all the three categories, you cannot perform valuation for all three. So you would be relying upon the valuation done by other valuers of that particular category. So he should clearly mention that in his report. In case of help from support from any professionals or technical advice, that also should be clearly mentioned in the valuation report. Independence and disclosure of interest. A valuer shall act with objectivity, shall not take up an assignment if he is or his relative is not independent, shall maintain complete independence in all the professional dealings, and disclose to the clients the possible sources of conflict in case there is any. The valuer shall not deal in securities. So there are SEBI guidelines under the SEBI prohibition of insider trading regulation. So valuer shall not deal in any kind of securities for which he is doing valuation. Valuer shall not indulge in mandate snatching or offering convenience valuation. So IBBI has clearly issued guidance on that. He should not do convenience valuation. So what does that mean? So client wants valuation to be a particular amount, so that will hurt its the independence of the valuer. So he should not do behave like that. As an independent valuer, valuer shall not charge success fees. So based upon certain percentage or happening of certain event, he should not charge fees like that. And independent expert opinion, so in case he is getting opinion from any other expert, so declare the association with that. Confidentiality, a valuer shall not use or divulge any information, any confidential information which he has obtained while carrying out the assignment without the proper knowledge or consent of the client. And in case of any professional, any legal requirement, so he has to disclose that. Information memorandum, valuer shall ensure that he maintains the written contemporaneous records. What does that mean? So he should keep the chain of records so that in case anything goes into litigation, he would provide, he will be able to safeguard his skin and provide the documents to the authority. And he shall cooperate with all inspections and investigations carried out by any authority. Here authority is IBBI or RVO with which he is registered. So we will talk about that registered valuer organization also. And any other statutory authority, RBI and SEBI and all. So he would have to provide and cooperate, appear for hearings in case anything goes up into litigation, and provide all the information required by them. So he has to provide all the information if required by any tribunal, appellate tribunal. And valuer, while respecting the confidentiality of information, shall maintain proper working paper for a period of 3 years. So these rules says he has to maintain the working paper for 3 years. But in case anything goes into, so he has to maintain the papers till the disposal of the case. Next we have gifts and hospitality. Valuer should not accept any gifts or hospitality from its client, and also his relative should not accept. So relative is defined under section 2 of Companies Act. Valuer should not offer any gift to any public servant or any other person with a view to obtain or retain some kind of information or some kind of advantage for conduct of profession. Remuneration and cost. Valuer shall provide services for remuneration which is charged in a transparent manner. That means that is reasonable. So that should clearly reflect the work performed by the valuer. Should not be extraordinarily high, and should be consistent with the applicable rules, and should not accept any fees other than those which is mentioned in the contract with the client. So should not take any under table payments. Then occupation and employability restrictions. So valuer shall refrain from accepting too many assignments, so with a view so that he is able to devote adequate time to each of his assignment. And the valuer shall not conduct business which disrepute the valuation profession. Then we have our next topic, which is ethical consideration under the terms of engagement. And we have engagement letter first. So within the engagement letter, first of all, the valuer should agree on the terms of engagement before commencement, so that there should not be any dispute later on. And everything has to be documented in writing in the engagement letter, and shall contain the condition that this report which valuer will issue should not reproduce and without the written consent of the client or the valuer, unless there is any statutory requirement. And wherever the reliance is placed on the expert work or any other valuer, so that has to be also documented. And I have given the list of items that are included in the engagement letter. This is not exhaustive list, just an inclusive list. So it should mention the detail of the client, detail of the user of valuation report, details of the valuer, the purpose of valuation. So we will talk about the Companies Act section and IBC and where the valuation is required. So identification of subject matter, what has to be valued. So whether it is the net worth of the company or asset of the company, valuation date is to be mentioned. Basis and premise of valuation, that is important, and we will talk about that in my coming videos. Responsibilities of clients and valuers, and confidentiality obligation, as we have discussed, that he should not disclose any information or any to the anyone outside other than the client without the consent of the client or the valuer. Scope and limitation of the report, fees to be charged, and in case of any third party expert opinion is being taken, so the scope of work, limitation, and all about that as well should be included in the engagement letter. Management representation, so value should obtain the written representation from the client regarding the information about the client, such as projections and all. So these representation, he has to mention in his report that he has placed a reliance on these representation from the management. And just by getting the management representation, he cannot preclude himself. A valuer cannot preclude that he by saying that he has got the representation from the management, and the basis that he has performed his valuation. So he should himself should exercise reasonable skill and care, applies analytical mind to carry out the valuation process. Then we have reliance on the work of other experts. So while granting work, so a valuer should evaluate the skills and qualification of the expert and determine that the expert is competent to perform this particular assignment, because he has to place reliance on that for carrying out his valuation. So the basically the expert should be competent to perform that particular assignment. So, and the engagement letter also should document clearly about employing the third party expert, and the third party expert will be responsible for his stuff. And in his final report, a valuer should also disclose that he has placed reliance on the particular third party expert work. Then independence and conflict of interest. Valuer can place reliance on the environment, considering the environment, like for example, if client is using third party software and client has no control over that, so he would have to understand the tools and softwares being used by the client or by the management in carrying out their activities, whether the valuer will be able to place a reliance on that. And then he would have to check the adequacy, independence, and all. So the valuer should not allow any kind of bias, any conflict of interest, or any undue influence by any officer of the management or anyone from the management. A valuer shall appropriately disclose in case he has any kind of conflict of interest, so he should disclose. And in case any prohibition under any law is there, he should not accept the valuation assignment. Then we have quality review process. So RVO is registered valuer organization, which register the valuers as its member. So it monitors and review the functioning of valuer and the quality of service provided by the valuer. So they may come up and ask for the records. So valuer shall maintain the proper records, and as per these rules, 3 years, for 3 years he has to maintain the records, and the RVOs or any IBBI tribunal, any tribunal or appellate tribunal may come up and they ask for these records. Then coming to the last topic of this video, which is right and responsibility of valuers. So scope of work describe the work to be performed, responsibility and confidentiality obligation. So valuers should draft this thoroughly upfront so that there should not be any dispute, and valuer should not use or divulge to other clients any kind of confidential information which he has obtained without the consent of the valuer, or unless there is a legal requirement to disclose that information. So friends, that's all in this video. In my coming video, I would be talking about the registered valuer and valuation rules framed under section 247, and we would be talking about the valuation requirement under the various section of Companies Act. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching.